If all men worldwide decided they were done with women and they would have to be on their own, it would be curtains for all of them. Do you believe that statement, or do you think they would still be able to make it on their own? Well, let's look at this a little deeper to answer this question and see if they can truly stand on their own feet, being strong and independent without men. Based on the countless examples I've seen in my personal life and the people around me, it is usually the women that had a man that could provide for them that ended up living a better quality of life. If both of them were dirt broke, then not so much. One of their kids would have to sacrifice themselves to be their parents' retirement plan and make their final days on this earth as easy as possible. Compare that to a single woman without a man. Well, depending on how many kids she had, if one of them stayed back to take care of her, then she could have it pretty good. As long as that child rakes in a decent amount of money per month to support and care for that woman. Then the final woman on our list is the single woman without kids who weren't rich. Gents, that woman is doomed to struggle and suffer if she does not acquire a nest egg for her retirement. If you think these 304s are winning, then look at either a single mother who did not have a child becomes financially independent, and then look at a single woman who did not have any kids or plan for retirement. You'll see what a sore tragedy looks like. I've been fortunate enough to see all these types of women throughout my life. And let me tell you something, most women are doomed without a husband that prepared for their retirement if they had kids that never became financially independent or successful, and if they did not have kids and failed to prepare for retirement. All of these women are done economic-wise, so when your exes leave you and think they can level up, do better, and the grass is greener on the other side, the last 40 years speaks for itself. Damn near all of these 3 women are done going into their 60s and 70s. So when we hear them saying they are strong and independent and we see the career women putting off having kids, I know that they are not thinking long-term and need a reality check. This is why an older woman, if she doesn't have her finances in order, will start to become desperate, because if there's no man or kids, then she literally has no assured safety net for the remainder of her life. Let me tell you guys something, one of the saddest things is to see an old homeless woman that has no choice but to live on the streets. She'll probably get help from someone or a government agency, but it typically tells a story when you see an old woman that's homeless. More often than not, it's because she was defiant to the bitter end and believed she could have done it on her own without being under the control and authority of a man. That is typically what happens because many of these women, especially nowadays, will prefer to choose struggle over having a man who checks her and keeps her from sabotaging herself and the family. That is the reality I've seen over the years regarding women who end up in bad situations. The other reasons some women end up homeless are usually related to drugs, poor life choices they make for themselves, or just a catastrophic accident like their home being burnt down. That is why I'm a proponent of not feeling sorry for women when you see them in a bad situation if it wasn't an accident out of their control. Too often, people are willing to rescue women just because they are women without looking to see what put them in that situation or turning a blind eye to it. Gents, you must have ice-cold veins out here in these streets and stop feeling sorry for women who chose the struggle, because I guarantee you if it was a man, highly likely you wouldn't care. People walk over homeless men every day without giving an F about them. I do it too, just to show you I'm not a hypocrite, but I do the same when I see homeless women or hear a woman on the verge of economic collapse sob story. I don't care, nor will I help these people, because I know that they put themselves there 9 times out of 10, being rebellious and living it up. You guys must be wondering how I can be so heartless and cold. Well, I used to work with the government where I lived, and it was my job to listen to people's sob stories 5 days a week for 365 days. When you start to hear the reasoning behind most of their stories of why they needed help and how they got to the position where they're at, you start to pick up on patterns of human behavior, and you realize that most XX are dumb. Listen, gents, and listen well. Most women are where they are in their lives economically because they made disastrous decisions when they were young, compounding into their middle to old age. Trust me, I've seen it played out time and time again. An example of this is a young woman who has a teenage pregnancy by a Pookie or a Ray Ray, and you guys know Pookie is not going to take care of that kid. This woman will get pregnant for Tyrone next and then become a single mother of 2 without any father to help take care of the kids. That's what women do because they don't think long-term, and as a result, they always find themselves in struggle without being under the authority of a masculine man. Alright, I broke down on a personal level why most women can't make it on their own. Tap the like button if you agree with me so far. Let's look at the bigger picture if men were to stop caring about women and the effect it would have on them as a result. The first thing we need to acknowledge is the fact that women only made it this far because they had men to protect and provide for them. If it wasn't for that one thing, we wouldn't have made it this far in the year 2022, because if the women died off, which would have most definitely happened, no questions asked, we could not procreate, and so we would have died off a long time ago as a species. Apart from the biological need for men to procreate with women, and for women to nurture and raise the kids, men don't need women to survive at all. If you look at it, women have caused more destruction to men on an individual level than if that man was left to his own devices. Because of women leading the family to destruction, there are more broken homes, mental illnesses, people identifying as 100+ genders, and a lack of stability in the family as a whole. And if you go outside and look at the kids that single mothers raise, even without research, it is quite obvious that most single mothers are not good parents. Just go outside and look at the tippy-toe men and 304s with mental illness. That should speak for itself that they aren't suited to parent kids without men. So far, we have looked at survival and raising kids that they are supposedly the best at. And so far, it's an L, so let's take a look at building and maintaining society. This will also be a short point because I think it's evident that most women on the planet don't build ish. Women are not physically as strong as men, so off the bat, most of them are disqualified from helping to build society if men walk away and stop caring about them. And even if you find a few tough women to do the job, do they have the expertise to build properly? Nope, they don't, because men were the ones doing it all along. They would have to learn how to build a house or building from scratch, setting them back years, if not decades, just on learning alone. And to destroy this point, women cannot continuously handle intense physical labor for multiple years. It will take a toll on their bodies faster than it would have been for the average man to start feeling the effects of hard work. So in building society, women are effed without any man teaching or helping them. Next is maintaining society so they can survive. Look, as I've stated before, women only survived this long because of what was between their legs. It would have been a wrap if it wasn't for that funky wet vice grip that men wanted. But if women are to be strong and independent without men, they need food, power, and clean water. It's the men that mainly risk their lives to keep the power on, build pipelines, and purify the water so that we can all drink. And we all know primarily men are the ones who own medium and big commercial farms that feed the entire population. These strong and independent women would have to learn how to build, manage, and maintain the grid by risking their lives, learn how to lay the pipes and purify the water so that all the other women that are working on other things could live and farm at a large scale. I think we can picture what would happen. And also, they would have to drill for oil. It's a wrap. Not many women around the globe are engineers and technicians, so they would have to teach the other women who may or may not want to do the job. It's a wrap, guys. It takes 3 days to live without water, and if they can't get the electricity to pump the water, we haven't even mentioned purifying the water yet, and they'd be screwed. This is assuming that men took everything they built, created, and could move, leaving women alone to start from scratch. If they had to figure it out on their own, within a week at least half of them would have been sent to the shadow realm easily. So when you hear them thumping their chest and acting all strong and independent, it's only because men are still building and maintaining this world. Oh, and by the way, what happened to women being strong and independent since the Great Cough? Does anyone know what happened? Because the womanist have been pretty quiet lately since the start of the recession. So all it took was a cough with a 99% recovery rate to put strong and independent on its knees. Wow, absolutely mind-boggling to say the least. Subscribe if you agree with this message. The last point we can look at would be in the field of medicine. Luckily for women, they have an abundance of nurses and an alright amount of doctors. However, it would be challenging to make all the medications independently. That would cause a lot of deaths in a short space of time. And in terms of the doctors handling the workload or seeing patients and performing surgeries, with the number of women needing care, it would be either short-staffed but manageable, or they would crumble with the workload. So while they could do a decent job overall with a small portion of the population, if they couldn't train enough people in time, there would be way more lives lost than need be. So I don't see them successfully managing healthcare on a large scale, but on a mid or small scale, yes. I think we covered enough for this video. If I were to go into all the fields where women would have to step up and get under control, this video would never end, proving that if men stopped caring, their ass would be grass. Without a doubt, it would have been a wrap for women. And that shows you that they still need us way more than how we need them. So I want you guys to understand that you are the one that holds the majority of the value in society, so act like it. Share the video with a friend who needs to be reminded that the land whale he has at home needs him more than he needs her. And even if a man makes less than his woman, as long as he's able to rent and sustain himself, he'll most likely have more money if she isn't a frugal person, because men typically don't need much. If you want to support the channel, the links to our PayPal and Cash App are in the description box below. And if you have any stories you'd like to share with us regarding women and success, the email is in the description box also. And if you want to learn the brutal truth about ignoring modern women and the positive effects it can have on your life, then click the video on the screen right now.